Hi everyone and welcome. I have recently put a post on Facebook about my build for my car when I went to Tasmania. So I live in Darwin, so it was a huge round trip, but it was a great trip. I had 3 months, I travelled 17,500 kilometres, and this car got me through it all. I had so many questions on Facebook and all the groups that I posted a picture on, which was just so touching and lovely, and it was so great to see other people's builds. But there were so many questions to answer, and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to do a car tour. I have been back home about a month and a half, so I have taken some of the items out, but I haven't had a chance to remove the whole build. So I've tried to sort of get it all together, and we'll see how we go. But this is basically how I lived in my car when I travelled around Australia. Alright, so let's start at the start. So one of the first modifications I made was I bought this mesh. So when I bought the car, I had to replace the radiator last year. So that's quite an expensive job for any of you who have done it before. And I really didn't want to have any damage, any rocks, any bugs or anything mucking this up. It was pretty good most of the time, didn't really have any issues with bugs until I got to Winton in Queensland, and oh my god, it was like going through the plague. I'll put a little picture in here of what happened. So in the end it actually really paid for itself. The next one was I did go to an auto electrician to sort out my electrics. So I do have a second battery under the bonnet, and they put a Anderson plug here for me so I could charge with a portable solar panel. So not only does the plug actually work for charging the battery, but the car will charge the battery when I run, and that's what runs my fridge and anything else I plug in when I'm stationary. So yeah, that was a great addition, really handy to use at the front of the car, because I always usually park the car facing north anyway, because I wanted the back of the car where I lived out of in the shade. So that worked out really well. So they were the two things on the front that I did. On the roof, I put a roof platform. Now I'm lucky enough to have a sunroof, so I had a medium size roller titan roof rack I got from Super Cheap Auto on sale, and I got a low mount from A1 Roof Racks, I think it was, and that just meant it keep it really slimline on the car. So you can see it doesn't sit really very high off the rails. When I was going to Tasmania, I had a height limit on the car for the ferry, so yeah, I wanted to keep everything slimline. I added the weather shields to the car as well. That was so I could crack the windows without anyone really knowing they were open, and also during wet weather. Going to Tasmania, I thought that might be a possibility, so there's a good amount of space there I can open it without letting any weather or fingers in. I also bought the solar screen reflective thermal window covers for the whole car. So I did a full set, so every window including the front windscreen has one. They were brilliant at keeping the cold out when I was sleeping in at night time. Wasn't great when you're in a hot climate because it keeps the warmth in, unfortunately, but it was great down south and also for driving, especially keeping the sun off the back and off the fridge and off Phoebe, my dog, in the car. I have a June 4-wheel drive shower ensuite from Anaconda. I'll put a picture in here of what it looks like. Super easy to set up, super quick, very sturdy because it has the poles and the ropes, which a lot don't. So it just made it a bit more sturdy in the wind and bad weather. Just a little bit longer setup time. It also had a roof, so that way it kept the sun out and the rain out in case using it for toileting or changing, which was really good. On the other side at the moment, I have since upgraded since the start to a 270-degree drifter awning. Sorry, the sun's just behind there. I did have two Anaconda June 4-wheel drive awnings, one on the back and one on the side. I never used the one on the side, actually, not once. It was a bit too wide for me to put out on my own, so I never really used it. The back one I did use quite a lot, but as you can see, this is a very good recreation. Phoebe's lead would always knock the poles out, so that didn't work very well. So this new 270-degree awning I've got is poleless, unless it's really bad weather. In that case I probably wouldn't put it out anyway. So that has been a huge upgrade, and I'm really, really happy with it. It's brilliant, and it's really easy for a solo person to put up, which was another thing, because yeah, they can be a bit tricky otherwise. So you can see on the back window there, I've got the solar screen there, which is good for privacy and keeping the sun off the fridge. I have this pocket in the door. A lot of people put, who have the Prados, put like a flip down table. I didn't, for two reasons. One is then you can't get the drawers open, and of course you always leave something in the drawer when you put the table down and start cooking that you need. So, and also that pocket was just handy. I put all my toiletries in there. I'll see if I can find a photo for you. Put all my toiletries, my towel, and just things sort of stuck in there, like my toothbrush in a cup and that kind of thing. In the car I have my mattress. It's just a foam mattress from Anaconda again. I think it's Spinifex brand. I did cut it a little bit on the side to fit flush in here, but basically it's trifold, so it's one piece, and then one piece, sort of like folds up here. So that means I can have the back seat up, and Phoebe has the whole back seat when we're traveling. So I just carried one pillow for me, my blanket. I had another spare blanket. I only used a couple of times because it wasn't really cold in Tasmania. I was very lucky. And then Phoebe had a blanket as well for the cold nights. I have a King's 85 litre fridge, upright fridge. Reason why I went for upright, two reasons, was space. So instead of that space going back and taking up room behind, I actually used the whole height of the car, which was great, which meant I had space behind, which I'll show you. But also it means I don't need a drop down slide to access the top of the chest fridge, which saves some weight, and it just means accessibility is so much easier. So I can literally just access everything in here. Oh, ignore that, just keeping the fridge open so it doesn't go moldy. Super space. So these fit big litre bottles, fit cans easily up here, and yeah, so much space. I had enough food for 2 weeks in here easy. So yeah, can recommend. It is attached, see if you can see it, there's a little L bracket there. There's 4 of those around the fridge. So when I installed the drawers are from Anaconda as well, but you can get King's one. They're exactly the same, just different branding. So the drawers are sitting on like pieces of those sort of puzzle foam boards. They're really cheap, like people use them for like kids playing and stuff. But I just use it, I don't know if you can see it, just as a bit of sound deadening, so they didn't squeak about and the drawers didn't like clang around and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a bit of support, but also a bit of sound deadening. I then bolted the drawers to the 3rd row anchor points in the back of the Prado, so they're bolted to the floor of the car. Because I had the 2 separate drawers and not the kit that Kings give, there is obviously a gap, and that was fine really. It wasn't a big issue, except when I came to install the fridge, because it is not exactly, as you can see, it's not exactly in line with one drawer. It's pretty much the same almost as one drawer, but you've got to allow for drilling for your bracket. So I decided to just get one big piece of marine ply and cover the whole top, which also spread my weight sleeping in the car, and it meant I could shift around the fridge so it fit perfectly, and bolt that in, which worked out really well. And then I have a spare piece of ply, which is just here under the bed, which is the width of the bed. So when I put the back seat down, that piece of ply goes up and over it and creates one big platform, and then my mattress folds down. I hope that makes sense. Use every space you have. I had jumpers stuffed in the side here. I had spare wipes, toilet paper, shopping bags, all sorts of things stuffed down the side, dog treats. I had cans of food. I've got my first aid kit here. Everything really used the space. This side I had all my car stuff, so I had spare oil, coolant, window washer, glass cleaner, and things like that stuff down there. I nearly forgot, I also had one of these voltmeters installed by the auto electrician, so I can monitor my second battery and make sure I had enough. So coming to the drawers, this side I used for clothing, so I had my clothing and my toiletries in that side. And then this side was my cooking. So I have a cooking stove and my pantry items. I also bought these from King's. So these are stainless steel tables. So I didn't want to have to carry a table, but I needed space, especially as I wasn't doing the side door thing. So I have these, and I'll put a picture up here of what they look like when they're out. But I have one for each side. So that way I had double the amount of counter space. And they can hook on the end of the drawer, and they come out to here. And you can either have them closed, open, you can do anything with them. So you can have it open like that. You can have open it with this on the end, so then you've got all of your, I'm on a bit of a slope, sorry. You can then have this out over here and still have access to all your cooking stuff and access to your fridge. So these are really handy, and compared to putting one on the door, so much easier in terms of getting in and out and getting items and stuff, because you don't have to worry about the drawers. You can still open them no matter what. Going around to the front seat. So the front seat was jam-packed, not gonna lie. It has not now because I've taken everything out. I put a couple of things back in. So the front seat, all I really have is I did have these cushions my mum gave me, really good for back support and sitting down for long periods. One day on my way back from, I think it was Barclay Homestead to Catherine, I think I did something like 800 kilometers that day, and I'm driving on my own, so it was a long way. It's a lot on your body concentrating. So yeah, really handy to have those extra cushions just for comfort. I bought a couple of these from Kmart. You can get really fancy ones and more expensive ones, but I just bought this one, and it was just for stuff that I kept. So I have a fridge thermometer, so I can monitor and make sure my fridge was working and the food wasn't going off. Just got extra bolts and stuff. I've got a Spot. So the Spot here, the Spot is a really good device. Any kind of GPS device is brilliant for anyone, but especially solo people, I think. Anyone who's planning on going somewhere where you're going to lose reception. So I don't have a satellite phone, and I'm traveling in and out of the Northern Territory, South Australia, Queensland, regional New South Wales, everywhere like that, and you do lose reception. So if something happened, you could be in a bit of bother. So whether the car crashed, or I had something go wrong with the car, or something go wrong with Phoebe, or something go wrong with me, and I needed help, I could press the SOS button, and that would immediately go to emergency services. They get my GPS coordinates, and then they will come out and find me. That's in a super emergency situation. I also have a UHF. I bought a handheld UHF. I don't think it's in here. I think it's inside now. And that meant that I could communicate with anyone who's coming up the road, just in case I was pulled over for some reason. I could alert them that I was there, so they could either help me if they were able to, or know I'm there and just sort of make sure they don't run me over. But another great thing with this Spot is as well as the SOS feature, is actually I can turn it on, and if I don't have signal at a camp spot one night, I can send the okay to my family, so they're going to email with my GPS location, so they know where I am that night. It just means I can keep in touch and let them know where I am in case I can't call them and for emergencies. So yeah, so some sort of GPS device, there's loads of different ones in the market. This is one that I inherited from my sister, and it's US, and I pay, I think it's like $20 a month for a plan. And yeah, that's just, I wouldn't have been without that. It was a great investment. Got some dog treats, got your fluoro in case you're working on the side of the road, water bottle. I did have a pencil and a sharpener. I was trying to do some sketching when I was going on my trip. Behind here I've got my solar panels, which go into the front. They're just King's one. They're okay, nothing fancy. you know, cheap and cheerful. And then I would have a whole bunch of books here. So I used, especially in Tasmania, something called Street Library, where you can go and swap books. So I was never out of reading material on my trip, which was great. On the front footwell, I had a few things. So I have obviously my reflective for my front window. I also had a camp chair for Phoebe, which was the Wanderer camp bed. I'll put a picture up. Also had my camp chair in the front here. And then I also had the beach sole shower. So I'll show you a picture of that as well. I got it on sale. It had like a small default in it, so I got it a bit cheaper, and it was brilliant. It's great for washing things, great for washing your feet, and great for washing your body and cutlery and anything really. So that was really good. So yeah, in the front footwell of my car I had a lot of stuff, and in the front in general I had a lot. I also put on the top of my front seat all my jackets. So I had a weatherproof jacket, I had a couple of jumpers and stuff, and they all just sat up there. So anything I didn't fit between my fridge kind of lived up here because of the space. So you wouldn't believe I actually found some footage. So you can see all my coats tucked up there, Phoebe's coats, the solar panels just there tucked in. I've got my books there that I was reading. I had Phoebe's camp chair, the reflectix, and then my camp chair behind. And then down below I have the beach sole beach shower. So that was pretty much the front seat. The middle was actually kind of like a little fridge, but I never used it. Just used it for storing bits and pieces. And yeah, that was really the front. Then on the back seat, so this is going to get a lot of questions, this back seat. So how do we sleep in here, and how do I fit a big dog, all that kind of stuff. So the seat's moved back now, but it was right up before, and I used to have this red bucket. So it's actually a porta potty toilet thing. I never really used it as that because I was lucky enough to stay and find free camps and donation camps with toilets, so it wasn't really an issue, but I had it just in case, which also explains the kitty litter. If you know, you know. I ended up using this as a little laundry bucket. So I used to put my clothes in there with Nature's Choice wool wash, and leave that in overnight or during the day, give it a swish around when I remembered, and then hang that out. And that was really good for washing in between laundromats, especially if you don't sweat much or you don't get that dirty. Didn't work on stains or anything like that, or mud, but it was good for just freshening up your clothes in between uses. So that used to sit behind the seat and take up most of the seat, and I used to put a water bowl on it for Phoebe as well, so she had a water bottle on the back. Speaking of bugs and also ventilation when sleeping inside the car, I had these expandable grates that I got from Super Cheap Auto. They just slot in the top and over the window that lets air through. And then I put these mesh covers over the top of the windows. They're like a little slip. Only problem was they did let water in when it rained because it obviously broke the seal on the car. So I'd have to think of something different in future. But when it was dry, it was really great for just helping keeping out mozzies and bugs. Fancy seat cover, which, you know, it is what it is, and it works a treat, and it keeps her scratches off my seats. Behind here was all Phoebe stuff. So I have a muzzle, poo bags, leash, any medication. I've got one of those fox head nets. What are they called? Outfoxed head nets that are good for flies and stopping eating bait and stuff. That was really good. We didn't really need it, which is great, but we had it just in case. So yeah, that was all Phoebe's stuff sort of tucked in here, which was great. She also has a bed, which she's destroyed. But she had the whole back seat with this arrangement. She's a Doberman, so she's big. This is Phoebe. So I wanted her to have space on those long drives. This is her sort of setup for making sure she can go anywhere. And I also had a Sirocco fan. So I bought this ages ago. Didn't know how I was going to install it. I was really lucky the auto electrician who did under the bonnet put a cigarette lighter on the end of that, or cigarette socket, because the Prados come with a cigarette socket in the back. And he changed that to run off the second battery so I didn't flatten my main battery. So I could plug the fan in anytime into that one, and I'd run off the second battery. And as anyone knows who's got one, they're really low draw power, so it was really good. So that was in there. and I've got my covers on the windows there. That one always stayed on because we never really used that door. And I just hung my hats up there. So you can see back here, it's full. So we've got the fridge just behind here, and we've got the mattress there. So if I take this down, you'll see. So this is real van life, this is. Mess and all. So I had 3 5-litre containers. The reason why I chose 5 litre was it's much easier to carry when they're full. Much easier to have hanging about when you need water. And also loads more places you could fit to fill them. So I'd never run out of water. I had those 3, and then I had the 5-litre shower in the front. So 20 litres of water would do me easily for a few days. And in some places I did buy bottled water if I wasn't sure what I was drinking because I didn't have a filter. Just spare gas bottles, got some noodles, got some containers, you know, you stuff things in any corner you can when you are running out of space. Got shopping bags, and then I've got up the top just a collapsible dish washing. So yeah, that's kind of the back. So it's pretty full. Like I said, I stuffed loads of jumpers in here. They fit really well. Anything soft fits really well in this space. I never opened this window, and I had that so nobody could see in. So yeah, so I'm going to show you the bed now. Alright, so sorry about the sun on this side of the day, but you can see what I did was I put the double seat side down, and I've got that plank of wood and slid it across. So that normally sits under the mattress during the day, and I've pulled it out now, which means the mattress also comes out. So that makes the bed base. And I just grab, well, that's Phoebe's blanket. She sleeps over in that corner, and I just bring out so you can sleep either way. It would depend on sorry, I'll do this as quick as I can. You can sleep at either end. It would depend on which way is lower, because you always want your feet going to the lower side and your head on the higher side. So sometimes I slept with my head next to the fridge, just there, and sometimes I slept with it up here. It was more annoying because I had the fan in the way, but yeah, depends if I remembered to check. So that's what it looks like, the bed. I did also put a soft cover on my rear wheel, and I put a bag on the back. I'll put a picture here now, and that I use for a bin bag, especially as I was traveling with a dog. I did always want to make sure that I was taking her waste out of campsites and my own. So that bin bag on the back was great because it meant I had all the smells outside of the car, for pest reasons and just peace of mind. So yeah, so this is what the bed looks like. What I would do was I'd actually sit in the front seat of the car. I would spin around so I was facing the back, climb over the console and get in this way. I did try getting in from the side door, but that's quite high and I found that difficult. And usually I would have Phoebe already tucked in her bed next to me. So trying to climb over a Doberman in a small space late at night was not brilliant. So yeah, it was coming through the front or coming through the back. And, you know, coming through the back actually, in hindsight, would be fine. But I never really had it open, just keep bugs out and stuff. So yeah, it's just the front, the double seat down, the single seat stays. Just because it's easy for Phoebe to get in and out. If you didn't have anything in this spare seat, you could definitely just sit up here and then climb into bed that way, which would be really, really easy. So yeah, depends on what your setup is and what you're traveling with. If you were traveling as a couple, obviously you probably couldn't have the fridge. You'd have to think about other options with that. But for a single person, this worked brilliantly. And yeah, can't fault it. This was brilliant. This was a great setup for 3 months. I had a fridge with plenty of space. I was able to take my dog. I was able to sleep in here. I didn't feel confident sleeping in a tent on my own, even though I had a dog. I was going through the centre of Australia and regional areas. And also the weather, you know, it's just nicer to be in the car away from weather and have a safe space. One other thing I did forget was I had fairy lights inside as well, so that way I could have soft lighting at night time, just so I could see around the cabin and read, which was great because it was just bright enough to read in there. but you could always use a head torch, up to you. But yeah, I had fairy lights with batteries. I think I covered everything. If you do have any more questions, please leave them down below. I love the amount of questions. What a community, what and a surprise. I seriously didn't think putting up that picture I'd get so many responses. So yeah, that kind of blew me away. It was really exciting. So, and it's great to see everyone else getting out with what they have. You know, it doesn't matter what you have. You could have less than what I have. You could have more. You could have it, whatever. Do what suits you, your family, your pets, whatever it is, and just get out there and see Australia, because that trip to Tasmania was amazing. If you do want to follow my travels and see what I've already done and what I'm going to do, I have a Instagram channel called Dusty Road Therapy. I also have a YouTube channel called Dusty Road Therapy, so if you would like to support me and follow me, please see me on there. Otherwise, I just want to make this for you guys so you could see what I was doing in my life. And yeah, give you some ideas, inspiration. If I can help you in any way, let me know. But yeah, I am now selling this kit out if I can, and working on an old camper trailer to do the next part of my travels. So yeah, if you do want to see that, follow me on those other channels, and hopefully I'll meet you guys on the road one day. Take care. Bye.